the more information that my 16-year-old self would have had would have helped a lot. At the end, it's not about the likes, it's not about the shares, it's not about all of that. There is a person sitting there reading your material, and maybe that helped her.
Hello and welcome to Doctor Story. Knowledge and information are constantly advancing in the field of medicine, and all the progress needs to be effectively communicated to the audience. Today we have with us a medical professional generating medical information as web content, Dr. Lakshmi Vaswani. She is wearing different hats at one time, a compassionate and committed clinical pathologist plus a medical writer too. She is the founder and lead medical writer at HealthVerse, a medical communication agency. She has national and international publications, paper and poster presentations under her name. Dr. Vaswani, so good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, Anshul, for having me. It's really a pleasure. Thank you so much.
So, Doctor, what does being a medical writer involve?
Well, medical writing is, not a very well-known field right now in India because I think it is something that people conceive as more pharma-based. So originally, medical writing is more about regulatory writing. So we're writing about case studies, we're writing regulatory material for these, drug trials, and it's a lot of standardized work. But now I think the field has evolved to a point where we have medical marketing, which was again communications from industry, healthcare industries to doctors. That was more B2B communication. And then it evolved now with the boom of, online mediums. We have medical writing as a form of official communication to patients. We have patients who are more actively online right now. So we have something as B2C communication, where we are using online mediums to communicate and get in touch with patients. So we're using social media channels, we're using websites, we're using blogs. So that's the modern evolution, I would say, of medical writing, even though it may have been around for a while, but I think India is catching up now. Our industry is catching up now. Right. So that's, me, that's the space that really is appealing.
Great, wonderful. So what does a medical writer do, if we specify that for the, aspiring medical doctors here?
Okay. Well, you can get trained in medical writing, official, and there are training courses and certification courses in medical writing from reputed institutes in India like Symbiosis and a bunch of medical colleges and institutes across the country. We also have global institutes like the American Medical Writers Association, the European Medical Writers Association. They have their own certification courses. So those are extensive. That will get you working with pharma companies, with drug trials. It's that's established. Now, when we are talking about medical writing in now the medical marketing side of it, where we're talking more to patients, it's less formal. It's more we're gearing towards content writing and, more about talking from the patient's point of view. So in that case, we are writing now for, either it's articles, medical magazines, lifestyle magazines, health and wellness, where we're writing about the medical technology that's available right now. We're writing blogs, we're writing website copy, we're writing social media captions, we're drafting social media strategy. So is this all a way in which we can accurately represent medical information to patients at large, so that they know more about the field, they know more about their diseases, they know more about the doctors that they're going to visit. So it's all about educating the patient and entertaining them if we can, with good copy, with good content, with good writing. And get their attention. That's what I believe a medical writer do.
That's amazing. Actually new field, but yet to be discovered. But I think it has a long way to go now. Doctor, what interested you to go for medical writing, like being a doctor firsthand? I would want you to explain your journey as you transition from a healthcare job to writing.
Well, I was trained. I'm trained as a clinical pathologist, and I was working at an urban hospital in Bombay. We were, a tertiary care hospital, and as a lab professional, I think we are exposed to a lot more technology. Pathology and radiology is more tech-based anyway. So I had a natural inclination for medtech. I was always, fascinated by the latest gadgets and anything that's on the market. So that was a natural inclination. And then as part of our jobs, I think any doctor, or basically if you're associated with a hospital or a medical college, you do publish, you do write as part of your job description. It's part of it. So when we started writing, initially it was just to publish case reports or publish in medical journals, which we did a fair share of, our department. But we actually had a really good, really supportive medical director, and he said, okay, let's experiment. And we wanted to go ahead with medical writing, but for each other. So we're reaching out to doctors who are working together. We wanted to share information with them. So we started a newsletter, which was an e-newsletter. It became a magazine. It became a blog. So I had a chance to edit and kind of curate content for that as part of my organization, fully with their support. So I really got my hands dirty in that. I got to experiment. I got to try out different formats. I got to figure out what blog writing actually is, how to create a blog, how to create a website, all these things which we got first-hand experience with. And I fell in love with the whole process. The whole thing was something that you felt really fired up your creative juices. It gave you a chance to find out about a new field and a new way of writing. And I was doing it for a while, and then I decided in 2020 that maybe I'll try my hand at actually getting paid for this. Maybe this is a job opportunity here. So I had a consultant in Bangalore who reached out to me and said, why don't you write my website content for me? I said, okay, and it started from there, got the ball rolling. And I was, on a bunch of freelance assignments, and the work started getting heavier. And how it goes, you can't balance two at one time. You can't balance a full-time job and this. So I had to take the leap. So I did that, and it started to a point where I decided that if I'm doing it, I might as well do it properly. So we did launched HealthVerse, which is a medical communications company that specifically focuses on helping healthcare brands build their presence online. So I would want to focus on the online medium because I feel like that's up and coming, and we get to really talk to patients and really communicate with global platforms through online mediums.
Wow, that's terrific. So we could say after post-pandemic also, there has been a boost in the digital market with respect to content writers, specifically in the medical field, right?
The pandemic had a lot to do with a lot of conversations that we were having, even in medicine, where there was a lot of vaccine misinformation, there's a lot of medical misinformation, there was a lot of COVID misinformation, to a point where we don't know where our information is coming from. There could be anyone tweeting anything or writing any post on WhatsApp or Facebook, and it would become viral in a minute, and we don't know where it's come from. So even now, when I draft content for either Facebook or Instagram, I make sure that we reference everything, right? So referencing is really important. If I'm saying something as a doctor, I need to make sure that I can reference to a peer-reviewed article that justifies what I've said, or refer to a site like a CDC or a WHO, which can corroborate what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So that's where a lot of it stemmed from, where we needed professionals who understood the science but could communicate it in a better way to patients that they understood it, and to the community. Okay.
How important is online presence for doctors right now?
Well, right now the buzzword is personal branding, and online presence is, part of it. I believe that right now patients are more digital savvy and more aware of what's going on than maybe in the generations past. So we are targeting patients who are of this generation, who are on their mobiles, who are looking at Google reviews, who are looking at what your digital presence is or what your online presence is. I believe for the next generation of doctors, it is extremely important. Now, whether you want to have that as a, whether you're backed by a large organization or backed by a large hospital, then yes, then there you have that as backing, you have the departments as backing, and you can definitely, build on it with them. I did it for 10 years. So I understand that when you have an organization behind you, yes, definitely that name comes in. But if you are starting out or you want to start off your private practice, you have a smaller practice of doctors, you have a polyclinic, and if you want to create a patient base, the most effective way of doing that right now is and it's so simple because it's free. It's not like you're paying advertising money in the sense of a digital billboard or a huge sign poster. You're giving posters.
The mainstream media there, where it was before pandemic. It was.
And you don't have to be. I know a lot of doctors are very uncomfortable with advertising. And because we're not traditionally supposed to advertise our services, but don't think of it as advertising. I would say just think of it as you are sharing your information, something that you've been trained to do for many, many years, something that could benefit the community. Share it like that. Automatically, your expertise will shine through, right? And if the medium is just to put your face out there, to put your voice out there, so that people know you, they like you, and they trust you. So it's the same premise. Actually, you're just trying to reach as many people as possible. That's that's where online branding and your personal brand, what it means as a healthcare professional, at least.
Right. You mentioned about communication skills. What according to you is the relevancy of communication skills in doctor, or if we talk about more large term, soft skills, the value of soft skills in this industry?
Right. Well, I have noticed that a lot of these scuffles with patients or misunderstandings with patients, they may be avoided. I'm not saying it's a blanket thing that you can avoid all problems with patients, but it may be avoided if we knew how to communicate with them a little better. You can't really blame the residents coming out or the younger doctors from coming out where they're being trained in large government organizations where the patient load is just too much. You don't have the time to communicate or sit down and spend time with each patient the way we would like to. Right. So what they're learning with communication skills is on the job. When they then become employees of maybe private hospitals, or they enter their private clinics, and they have now the luxury of time to sit down and converse with patients. Private hospitals are very big with customer services and patient satisfaction. It's a huge part of what we do. So over there, I think they learn on the job. They learn by watching their seniors. They learn by communicating with patients and understanding, okay, they want more from me. They want us to explain this better to them. They want us not to just write prescriptions, but they want us to actually know what's going on with their treatment. So a lot of communication is learned on the job. So right now things are changing. I believe that there are more and more online courses available on communication skills for physicians. These are options that are, it's something that's out of syllabus, but in your internship year, people are taking it up because they realize that, it makes them more employable. If they're looking for jobs, it looks a lot better on their CVs. It shows that they've shown initiative to be a more all-rounder personality rather than just focusing on academics, which is important, of course, in medicine. But this is an added advantage if you already understand that when you go into private practice, this is a key part of your world.
So, doctor, considering your different hats that you're wearing, donning right now, what did you learn from your job as a doctor that you apply to your career as a writer today?
Well, in the freelance world right now, everyone's saying, it's beautiful. Life as a freelancer, you're your own boss. You get to set your own timings. You choose the people you work for. So I would say, yes, all of that. Check to all of that. But the 9 to 5 really puts a sense of discipline in you. And I would recommend it for for anybody, at least in this field, to try and get, working on deadlines, working for a boss, these are things that I believe were important for me, because I have that discipline where, I know that my working day has to be structured in a particular way. So it's a lot about self-discipline and sticking to a schedule. That's, those are really important things. What I have personally as now when I'm leading a team, although the work is very different, I was very, very lucky to have an excellent boss and an excellent leadership in my organization. The people I worked with were extremely supportive. So even when I was doing medical writing on the side, we always spoke about it. I always spoke about it with my boss, and she was the example of a woman supporting another woman, a mother supporting another mother. Where you are encouraging creativity, you're encouraging somebody to move on with something, even though it may be at that point of time inconvenient for her. But that, I feel, was something that I will take with me forward, is if I ever have the chance to lead a team like that, I would lead with this sort of professionalism and empathy that you learn when you only see it from somebody else. When you've experienced it is when you can give it. So that's something I will take on tomorrow. Yeah.
Great. So which project were you most excited to work on?
I think I've had the pleasure of working with the PCOS initiative, which is based in Atlanta, Georgia, and in the US. And we have written social media communications for them. We've written a lot of evidence-based material for them. They are a national polycystic organization, PCOS organization, and they believe, and again, a lot about empowering the patient to know more about their symptoms, to understand. They're advocating for the patient. So that, I feel, was the most meaningful material that I wrote. I'm a patient of PCOS myself. I understand how confusing the disease is. So it was like a personal, it got personal for me, because I could put myself in the patient's shoes and how confused I was in my teen years before I understood the medicine behind it. Why are these symptoms happening? So I believe that the more information that my 16-year-old self would have had would have helped a lot. So if you can give that information out there, and at the end, it's not about the likes, it's not about the shares, it's not about all of that. There is a person sitting there reading your material, and maybe that helped her. So that has a lot to do with the personal satisfaction behind it.
True. So it's more about empathy if we are talking about. So what are the key personality traits needed for a career in medical writing then?
I always think that respect for time, I believe. So it all, you have to understand that your clients have, their timelines, and timelines are important. So stick to those timelines and be able to communicate and say, I can't deliver at this point. That's really important. We go back to communication because I believe it's a really important part of dependability. I believe that your clients will learn to depend on you and will trust you if you stick to your deadlines and if you communicate with them effectively. So it's an underrated skill, but it applies in all fields, communication.
Okay, so if someone was looking at, initiating this in the writing field, what would be your first piece of advice for them?
I would say, first of all, just get trained with the basics. There are a lot of online courses right now. I wouldn't say look for medical writing courses. I would say look for content writing courses. Get something from the marketing world because they know what they're talking about. They understand the online market better than us at this point. So get what you can, get the value from them. Do a course or two in content writing from HubSpot or any of these major content agencies, and they have excellent courses out there. Get your basics right, and then build a portfolio. That is because nobody cares about your resume in this world. You can have 10 degrees after your name and 10 certifications after your name, but if your content is not and your writing skill is not up to par, they will go with somebody else. So get your portfolio organized, write your best work, and learn to pitch with that. These are all things that come one after the other. But once you get your skill organized, you learn a skill, you make a portfolio, you pitch your services. These are the 3 basic steps in this field.
Yeah. Well, I think based on the knowledge and experience you have shared with us today, most of the aspiring doctors would want to explore this field more. I truly acknowledge and appreciate the time you took off for us. It was really lovely talking to you, Dr. Vaswani. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.